everybody, Simon here again. Thought I'd do another video today, this time on small amplifiers, tiny amplifiers, specifically 1 watt amplifiers. And so we're going to sort of ask the question, how big can a 1 watt amp sound? And we're going to do that by taking a little look at this, the Marshall JCM1C, which was part of a range that Marshall issued a few years back to celebrate their 50th anniversary. It was a range of single watt amplifiers. I think they did a JMP, so like a plexi type one. This one, the JCM800, a JCM2000, and also a JVM as well. I think they're available in heads or combos. This is obviously the combo version. Notice the title of this video is not how loud is 1 watt amp, because that would be a very different question. So obviously the sort of main aim of this is home practice amps, but also for recording I just want to sort of try and find out how big we can make it sound. Most of the time I've used it as either a DI out to a load box with an IR or via an external cab. Because I mean, I'll do some sound clips of the internal speaker with it. It's got a 10-inch Celestium with it, which on this particular one I upgraded it to a greenback. It sounds good, but like anything, 12-inch speaker's better in it. So, but I will do you a sort of quick sound clip of what it sounds like through the internal speaker. I've also got down here a 1x12 loaded with a vintage 30, because everybody knows what that sounds like. But more often than not, I've been using this, as I say, as a DI out to a load box. In this instance, I'm using the 2-Notes Torpedo Captor X. So on the track, what I've done is tried to just give you some typical playing style of what you'd expect with the JCM800. We all know what that sounds like. I think the Big Brother, one of the most commonly used amps in studio history. Traditionally speaking, if you were dialing in a JCM800, you would tend to take the preamp gain and turn it up to 10. But I think it sounds a bit squishy when we do that on this. Maybe it's to do with the size of it and what have you, but there you go. So I've dialed it back a little bit. It's on about 8. So the front panel on this is pretty straightforward, really. You've got a preamp gain, you've got a master volume, and a 3-band EQ. You've also got a boost button as well for boosting. The idea is that it's supposed to give you 2 modes. You've got the regular JCM800 mode, so the sort of slightly less gain. Loads of harmonics, not too much gain. And then you've got the Silver Jubilee mode when you engage the boost mode. Which, you can hear it gives it a bit more saturation, gives it a bit more drive. Now, as most of you will know, the most notable user of the Silver Jubilee was a guy who, I don't even know if I can say his name without getting a copyright claim. So the guy with the top hat from that one. I don't know how I can demonstrate this actually without getting a copyright strike, but you know, if I play a couple of notes, that's all I can play. But you get the idea. I dare not do the third note. It gives it a little bit more saturation to the tone, so it's kind of got Silver Jubilee-ish vibes, I've got to say. But when I plug this in, that's not what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to just the regular JCM thing. This does have a sweet spot, this amp. which is, as I said, with the preamp gain dialed back a little tiny bit. I've also dialed back the treble and the middle a little bit because it was sounding a little bit harsh. So the IR I'm currently using is a Marshall 4x12 with greenbacks, which sounds pretty cool. Obviously, if you use different IRs, you'll get different results with it, but that kind of suits the vibe of this. So yeah, it sounds pretty good. What it sounds awesome for, and I did some lead playing on it on the demo video, and it almost feel like this should have come with it really, but put a tube screamer in front of it and you really are getting into bang on the tone we all know from all those records. Bit of noise there. So this is some tones using the internal speaker of the combo itself. So again, this is the JCM800 setting. It sounds okay, sounds pretty good, but it does sound like a low wattage amp with this. Size isn't everything, but the combination of the small speaker and the small output of the amp is probably pretty obvious at this point. So, sounds like a small amp at the moment. I'll just put it in the Silver Jubilee mode, the boost mode. Sounds a little boxy. I have heard a lot of other small wattage amps though that sound worse. I mean, it doesn't sound like a wasp farting in a matchbox or anything, but it sounds like a small amp at this point. I mean, it's useful if you just wanted to take it somewhere, jam with some friends or something in your living room, but yeah. So one thing I did do that I forgot to mention on that demo track was I did a couple of sections where I did the Joe Bonamassa trick of turning the preamp gain right down and turning the master volume right the way up. Get a much cleaner sound, much better for bluesy sort of playing. So I'll just do some clips of that again through all three mic setups. Now that works a lot better. I guess it's because it suits a smaller, boxier tone, like a sort of old Fender sort of style combo. Whereas using it in the other setting, it sounds like a Marshall being squashed. So now this is the combo speaker with a little bit of tube screamer on the top. Okay, now we are getting into wasp farting in a matchbox territory on that. It's just too much for it. So let's move on to the Vintage 30. So here we are with the Vintage 30. Now you talk. mean, I don't know how well that's coming across, but in the room, that's making a huge difference. Yeah, that's a big difference there. So those extra 2 inches, that they make quite a difference. I guess size doesn't matter, except when it does. So let's try that now, cleaning it up a bit. Doesn't sound bad, but maybe not quite as cool as with the internal speaker on it. Let's try it with a tube screamer in front of it. Again, maybe not quite as much fun there on that. It's almost a bit too much for it. It's quite a small room, so it's probably sending it a bit bananas. So, but I think for the main JCM tone there, that's the winner so far. Doesn't sound like 1 watt. So now we'll do the same thing again, but this time we'll switch back to using it with an IR and cab sim. So now we're back to where we started, which is the DI out going into the 2 notes Torpedo Captor X. Starting to sound pretty much like a regular sized amp once we put it through that. So I mean, it's obviously not plug and play sounding huge. You kind of got to tweak it a bit and put it in the right settings. Certainly sounds the best with the tube screen one. So there you go. Oh, one other thing I should mention actually is this also has like a low power mode as well, which puts it at like 0.1 watts. That sounds like this. I'm not even sure if that's a strong enough signal to come through on the recorder or not, to be honest. I mean, the best way I can describe it in the room is it's like putting the amp in a bucket. So yeah, there you have the different clips using the different speaker setups. Realistically, you're not going to use this to play with other people. I have played it with a drummer once just to test it, and I cranked it right the way and put a mic in front of it, and yeah, it sounded pretty cool. I mean, without the mic in front of it, you can kind of hear it, but let's be honest, no, don't use it for that. If you're looking at one of these things, or you've got one and you want to use it for home studio sound, then yeah, great. What I think is cool about it is that it does definitely give you the JCM-ish sounds at home at manageable volumes, and you can, particularly if you're using a load box, you can really push the master volume on it and get a little bit of power amp distortion going on. Does it sound exactly like a big JCM800? No, probably not. But again, that's a separate video. But again, it is what it is. It sounds JCM 800-ish in a teeny tiny package that you're not going to have to dedicate a shed load of space to. So, yeah, it's cool. Let me know what you think. Are small little valve amps the way of the future? Or are people like me stuck in the Stone Age? And should we just buy a Kemper? What do you think? I certainly had a load of fun with this, making this video, particularly if you put on that tube screamer. I mean, I'm not even using like a boutique tube screamer or anything. I'm using the Behringer vintage tube overdrive thing, because there's no point in using a high-end tube screamer clone with this, because that's £17 and it sounds like tube screamer. So thanks very much for taking the time to watch the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about this. I think it sounds pretty cool for a teeny tiny amp. So yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll see you again. Thanks.